Buongiorno e ciao a tutti, I'm Aaron here at 99 Problemi. Today I have a lesson for you on changing nouns from singular to plural. And this is sort of building off an earlier lesson that I did on telling the gender of a noun based on its endings. And at the end of this lesson, I have some exercises for you changing nouns from singular to plural. So let's get started here. Basically, if you look back at that lesson that I did on the gender of nouns, and I'll include a link for you, there are three major categories of nouns. There are the masculine nouns that end in O in the singular. There are the feminine that end in A in the singular. And then there are those that you can't really tell by looking at them. In the singular, those end in E. They can be either masculine or feminine. You see some examples down there like classe and pane. And basically, to make the plurals of these, you drop that ending in the pink or the magenta there, and you add what's in the yellow to make it plural. So if you want to take a ragazzo and turn it into ragazzi, you want to go from boy to many boys. That's changing the O to an I. Or a libro, if you want to say a book and you want to change it into the plural, you change that O to an I. So libro becomes libri. Okay, so O to I for the masculine. For the feminine, it is A to E, so una ragazza becomes ragazze, mela becomes melle, and so forth. And then for the last group of nouns, those that end in E in the singular, those, like the masculine above, those end in I. Okay, so there could be a little bit of confusion there if you're trying to put the plural back and you have two words that end in I and you're wondering whether they go back to, is it ragazzi, does it turn into a ragazzo or ragazze? It could be a little bit confusing there, but for the most part, when you have a singular noun that ends in E, it's going to become plural by removing that E and changing it to an I. So classe become classi, and pane become pani. Here's another example of how this can be very confusing. You have masculine or feminine nouns that end in E in the singular, but then all the feminine nouns are going to end in E. Okay, so you really, for those, you're going to need a lot more information on those in order to determine whether they're masculine, feminine, plural, etc. But it gets much easier over time. And then lastly, what if I give you a word like problema? You may have seen this word before. It's very common. But how does that change? Now that's a feminine. It looks feminine. You look at it and you say, oh, it's got an A at the end. But you dig deeper and maybe your teacher corrects you and they say, no, it's actually, that would become problemi. And you say, well, what? I don't understand that. I thought it would be probleme. And this is really opening up the can of worms that is the irregular Italian nouns. And there are plenty. So that's to just end this very straightforward lesson on this one note. That there are always exceptions to these rules, and in later lessons I will get into how the different families that are outside of this main group, and most of them are going to behave like these nouns, but there are several exceptions to this, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's one of the beauties of language, but you really just have to be on guard and welcome these exceptions and learn about them. They're actually pretty fascinating in a lot of ways. At any rate, let's get on to the exercises here. And for this one, it's very simple, just 8 words here are going to form the plurals for these. So for the first one, pollo, we got a chicken. And we turn that in, we want to turn that into many chickens. So that is pollo become polli. So O to I there, very simple. All right, why don't you pause it here And in a few seconds, I will unpause it. But whenever you're done writing those down and figuring out their plurals and reinforcing that knowledge, I will be back with the answers. Okay, what about pesce? There we go, some fish. This becomes pesci. There you go. The E in the masculine singular turns into an I. Also in the feminine singular, remember. Studente, that's easy, that's an E, so that will become an I. There we go. Studenti, many students. Albero, the tree. You want to say the trees, that's alberi. And then over to the feminine side there, festa, that becomes, yep, feste. And mella, that was from the examples that I gave you, that mella becomes the melle. And studentessa becomes studentesse. And then just to shake things up a little bit, we have a feminine that ends in an E in the singular, occasione. Well, that becomes occasioni, okay, with an I. Alright, so that is all from there. That is a fairly straightforward, quick lesson on how you form plurals in Italian. I hope that you found it useful, and so if you want to learn more, head on over to the website at 99problemi.com, and you can also subscribe to the channel 99 Problemi on YouTube, and you can follow me on Twitter or Facebook, all under the handle 99 Problemi. Thanks for watching. Grazie.